Simmons is dead.
What am I into here?
What do you think?
I think it's insane. Am I dead or am I alive? What am I?
You're going to have to trust yourself for the answers.
Guard down. All the ghosts come back to me. They gather around.
Don't let the demons take you. You hear me, soldier? Don't let the demons take you.
What's going on, everyone? The Great Talent here, and today we're going to talk about Spawn, the animated series. The old Spawn animated throwback nostalgia series from 1997. It came from 97, folks, and a lot of good shit happened in the 90s. Spawn, the animated series, was one of them. I haven't watched this in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces as a kid. I was only about 9 or 10 years old when this show first dropped on HBO. Granted, HBO, I really didn't have access to too much HBO back then. Again, as a kid, didn't have it as good as I do now. But at the same token, my mother wouldn't let me watch that much grotesque shit outside of like South Park was like the limit. Other than that, this show was way too raunchy. It had a lot of nudity, a lot of like dealings with rape, sexuality, grotesque killings, beheadings, people getting their fucking guts torn out, incinerations, and so on and so forth, because this show just does not hold back as it should, because Spawn is a very, very graphic and very grotesque show. I mean, comic. So I'm great. It translates very well to the the artistic style of the animated series here. First thing I want to touch on, first and foremost, before we get really started here, I just want to thank everybody, the few people who stopped by. Really appreciate any support I can get. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe? With that being said, yeah, let's just jump right in. So I'm going to try and make this as spoiler-free as possible, but man, what a dark and twisted show Spawn is. And at the beginning of each episode of the short 3-series run, Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, comes on board, and he kind of just, he gives an introduction, like kind of like a forward almost, at the start of each episode. And it's nice. It's only like about 30 seconds to a minute. He talks about, it's kind of like if you ever watch the old Tales from the Crypt, shows, how the Crypt Keeper gets on before each episode, that, and he says something that's really kind of like interesting, and they just segue into the show. That's kind of what happens here, folks, and it's pretty cool. But other than that, like, I can really see this show running way beyond 3 seasons. I can see it even doubling or even tripling its short run span. This is a victim of another one of the many shows out there, like Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles, other shows like Hannibal, and so on and so forth, that got kind of, didn't get a chance to shine. And I'm glad I got to actually visit it in its entirety, because it's really a great show. I mean, overall, it's, like I said, though, it's very twisted, and I'll get into depth what I mean by that. It's the story of Spawn is is one of a tragedy, born of tragedy. It's one part Batman, one part, I would say, Punisher, and a sprinkle of Rosemary's Baby here and there. And I'll try and elaborate of what I mean by that. So the story of Al Simmons, who is the Hellspawn, he's an ex-CIA agent. He got into some dealings with some really seedy, like, underbelly of society, underground, like mobsters, and kind of dealings went wrong, and they kind of like had him, like, this is a story, it's not a spoiler, they had him burned alive, and he died, and he went right to hell, and and the devil, aptly named Malbolgia, he's creating an army of Hellspawn to reclaim souls from Earth to fight in the war against Heaven. And that kind of plays a big role in season 3, where you see a lot more of the Warriors of Heaven kind of come in and try and like kill Spawn and kind of like stop him from building Hell's Army. And Spawn really doesn't want to build Hell's Army anymore. He just wants to regain his humanity after all said and done, because he wants to reunite with his love of his life, Wanda, who's now in the arms of his like best friend before he died, and he sees how happy they are together, and it's like killing him on the inside. It's a very, very tragic tale. How one man who gets to like he's caught between the living and the dead, and he's really just he's like he's not living or dead. He's like in limbo. He's on limbo on Earth, and he's forced to do hell's bidding. But at the same time, he's different because he has like this big heart, and other people start, and even like entities of Earth and heaven and hell start to see that, and they're like, wow, you're not like just a typical hell spawn, just doing the fucking grind of like hell's bidding. You're more than that. You're evolved. And I think that's great. I think that's a great character development in such a short span of time. Very emotional story, emotional tale. Granted, each episode is only like 23 minutes each. There's only 6 episodes per season times 3. There's only like 18 episodes altogether. It's not enough, folks. It's definitely not enough by any means necessary, by any standard or my standards. But getting into a little bit about the technical aspects, the animation is really very like, it almost feels like a living comic book. It's like it's hand drawn, like beautifully rendered, dark. It's the only, if I had any complaints about the show, it's just way too dark sometimes. But that's it. That's Spawn. He's always hiding in the shadows, lurking in the shadows. But the animation though is really like very like rendered pretty well. A lot of hand drawn scenes and textures that really pop out at times, even within the darkness. It's just so like if you close your eyes and you look at these scenes of like static imagery, like where he's on a tower and he's like his cape is blowing in the wind, and you could just be like, wow, I could picture this like translate from the comic like almost like a 1-for-1. The voice of Spawn has to be the driving factor besides everything else that surrounds that. The tragedy of Spawn, the tale that it's trying to tell, and so on and so forth, the animation. Keith David voices Spawn, and he does such a phenomenal job, just like he did when he voiced Goliath back in the Gargoyles series. I think if there's ever like a Blade animated series, I think we need to have Keith David reprise that, or do the role of Blade in an animated series. That would be amazing. That'd be tremendous. Even though it would be PG up the ass because they're owned by Disney now, but yeah, no, I really enjoyed this series. Keith David really brings the big guns, folks. He really does. He brings the meat and potatoes of this role. He really embodies Spawn, and he sounds like, the way he sounds is just like he sells it so much, where he's like, you can feel like the torment. He's completely tormented by his status and his stature. He's stuck in the middle, and he's like, and then he's not doing hell's bidding, so he wants to regain his humanity. He's joined by this other former hell spawn who's trying to like regain his humanity by redeeming Spawn, and it's just this crazy like stories that just spiral into one another. And what I really, like I said in the beginning, I really enjoyed about this the whole ideology of Spawn is like he's one part Batman, because most of the time he's just on rooftops, just at night, lurking about, looking for any type of people who are preying on the weak. Like, you have these like sex predators and like who are going after women, and like these murderers who are out for bloodlust with these fucking sex child predators and shit like that. He goes after, and it's pretty cool to see how he takes them down. Remember, but then again, he's like Batman like that, but he's not like Batman because he will fucking murder you, straight up murder you, like he does to these delinquents, a la the Punisher. So that's where it comes in, like he's like the Punisher. And I said Rosemary's Baby, and you're probably like, what the fuck do you mean by that? Like Rosemary's Baby, isn't that like a Roman Polanski like horror movie almost? Like, what does that have to do with it? Yeah, Spawn is a little bit horror because he's like dealing with Hellspawn, and you're dealing with the fight between heaven and hell, and hell is one of them is trying to win this war, and heaven is even changing the fucking rules. They're like not all this like high and mighty anymore. They're not like, you're not being all holy, they're being unholy, and they're like trying to take a page out of like hell's playbook, and they're like trying to be hunters now and shit. It's pretty fucking awesome. Warriors of Heaven are fucking great in this show in season 3. It's really awesome. But anyway, Rosemary's Baby, where that comes into play is like in the 3rd season, without spoiling too much. There's like some type of like Damien type thing going on, where there's like the birth of the Antichrist, or the birth of like the second book coming of Christ, and heaven and hell are fighting over this unborn demon spawn, or spawn of like some type of holy prophecy, and Spawn again, he's in the middle of it all. And it's fucking crazy to watch that happen, and we don't ever see that come to fruition, because that is in the final season, and you don't really see it progress or come to a head, because it got cut. They just cut it out. They cut the series. They nipped it when it was way too soon. They plucked it before it was ripe enough, just when it was getting ripe, before it was ripe enough. And they're like, I'm like very disjointed by that. I'm very jaded by this. And this isn't, like I said, this isn't the only series that's done that. Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles was just getting up off the ground running, and they fucking cut it off. I'm gonna watch that Hannibal series next. My friend told me it ended like kind of like how Spawn and Terminator the Sarah Connor Chronicles did. That's one of the next things on my list to watch. Other than that, I'm gonna check out Warrior, that's on HBO. Other shows like I'm gonna check out Peacemaker. It's just wrapping up. I'm gonna probably watch that in its entirety once it wraps. And yeah, so with that being said, without further ado, yeah, that is my review of Spawn. If I had to score it, though, because you know how I love my scores, if I had to score Spawn, the animated series, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a great series. What it lacks from being a perfect score is that some of the plot's threads are a little bit too all over the place, where you can understand what's happening, but they jump around a little bit too much for my taste. As well as the grittiness. It might be too gory, it might be too gritty for some people. I know for me, some of it was like really like, it got to a point where I was like, damn, even for an animated fucking cartoon, that's a little bit too much grit for me, but I was lapping it up because I have a twisted mind and a twisted dark soul, so I was enjoying it for the most part, but that's just me. A lot of people might not enjoy that, so anyway, with that being said, that's my review of Spawn the Animated Series. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will catch everybody next time. Thanks, as always, for stopping by.